Give me a team that your analytics love that maybe doesn't get the attention nationally.
It's not a team that, is necessarily hot by any means. You watch them play, and it seems like every possession is a struggle. But that said, they are competitive in every game. They really don't, they're never going to get run off the floor.
This is Sharp Money with Patrick Meagher on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Ken Pomeroy, KenPom, has become synonymous with college basketball. He helps out programs, he helps out the committee, and most importantly, he's become biblical with bettors. We welcome in Ken Pomeroy, KenPom.com, and we say hi. I know you don't do a lot of spots, so I appreciate the time, Ken. Thank you.
Yeah, hey, Patrick, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
Great to talk to you again. I wanted to start here. Far be it from me, Ken, to tell you how to run your business. But about a month ago, I got the notice that I needed to re-up at KenPom.com, and it's $20. If it flashed and said $100, I'm going to pay it. What are you doing still charging $20?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. It's $22 now. We should be accurate, but that price might be going up in the offseason. Let's just put it that way. I actually did intend to raise the price this year, and then I don't know what happened. The season started, and I did just slip my mind. But be careful what you ask for, Patrick. That's all I'm saying.
You're a very modest man, and I don't know if you know the impact. I'm sure you do, even as modest as you are. I started by coming in talking about programs using your advanced analysis, the committee using it. Do you understand just how popular you are amongst sports bettors?
Yeah, I mean, I have a pretty good idea. I occasionally, see my name out there and hear from people. So, yeah, I mean, I know my stuff is used by all of those people. So, yeah, I think I have a grasp on that.
Well, you're doing the Lord's work for us. Trust me, Ken. We appreciate you. He's brought to you, Ken Pom, on the Progressive Guest Line. We'll get into some of these teams. Just quickly, for those that don't know, can you just give maybe 1 minute on the genesis of KenPom.com?
The genesis was approximately 20 years ago. I was doing meteorology as a career. I was working for the government doing meteorology and really into sports and math, and specifically basketball, and just decided to build a website with some numbers on it just for my own sanity, because it was just really hard to keep track of every team in college basketball, and that's kind of what got it started. Really inspired by the movement in baseball at the same time, and by a guy by the name of Dean Oliver, who wrote a book called Basketball on Paper, which kind of addressed the analytic side of pro basketball. And all that came together, and I just got it started kind of as a hobby. Really had no idea or intent or motivation to get where it got to today, but just happened to be kind of the first one on the college basketball analytics bus, and things really took off.
Well, anybody can do weather. We appreciate you doing college basketball. We need you, Ken Pom. Don't go anywhere. Ken Pomeroy, KenPom.com. Okay, let's go here. Houston. You've been high on Houston in the past. You've had them at 1 with a bullet for a while. How high are you on this Houston team this year?
I'm still pretty high on them. I'm definitely a Houston stan. I think people, you compare, pull up video of Houston's offense and you pull up video of UConn's offense and you watch it side by side. And I mean, you're going to be more impressed with UConn. They are a flashier team, prettier offense. But I mean, Houston's not top liver. The offense is a little bit of a concern, but even in Big 12 play, they were essentially the best, they had the best offensive rating in the conference. I mean, technically they were second behind Baylor, but they were 3 points from being the best offense in the league during conference play. So it is an uglier offense in the sense that the ball doesn't go in the hoop quite as frequently, but they get so many rebounds, particularly loose ball rebounds. I mean, to me, there's some entertainment in watching those guys go for loose ball rebounds. I appreciate the purity of the UConn offense, but I really enjoy the hustle of Houston, and I think that can carry them far. I mean, their tournament record's pretty good. Historically, under Cullen Sampson, they've done pretty well. They obviously haven't won the whole thing, and people will hold that against them, but they've generally outperformed their seed.
KenPom, you have, it's interesting. The Mountain West has been awesome this year, and we talked the Mountain West because, of course, we emanate from Las Vegas. But a team like New Mexico that's squarely on the bubble, you've got them pretty high in your rankings. I believe they're 34th, right there around Nevada, Colorado State. Give me an overview on the Mountain West and these teams.
Well, I mean, yeah, the Mountain West tournament, I think, is going to be the most fun tournament of all of the 32 tournaments. It's really odd league in that the top 7 teams are pretty evenly matched. Like, I mean, you throw UNLV in there. I think they're clearly like the 7th best in that group, but they're not far from those top 6. And the top 6 are pretty evenly matched. So much so that like San Diego State finished 5th, and they're the highest rated team in my ratings in the league, and are a slight favorite to win it at like something like 20, 21%, something like that. So obviously a long shot, but a favorite at the same time. So just a super fun league. Top 7 are really equal. Bottom 4 are very far from the top 7. And I think there were like four wins from that bottom 4 against the top 7. So that's really the secret of the Mountain West this year, that those top teams really did not suffer many bad losses. I mean, the one terrible loss was New Mexico losing at home to Air Force, and that's why they're in the predicament they're in. But for the most part, those top teams took care of business and kind of beat each other up somewhat equally. And, that's how they're headed for, 5 or 6 bids in the tournament.
Progressive Guest Line brings us Ken Pomeroy, KenPom.com. Again, get it while it's affordable. It's going to go up. It has to go up. I want to go into business with Ken because $22 is a steal. Now, North Carolina, they won the league at Duke on Saturday, but I'm taking a look at the rankings, and of course, you still have Duke 7 and North Carolina 8. How come? Yeah,
I mean, they're pretty evenly matched. I know North Carolina mostly controlled that game in the season finale, and they mostly controlled the game at the Dean Dome earlier in the season. But take those two contests aside, and Duke has had a really solid year. Obviously, if you're a Carolina fan, you're not going to just set aside those results. But when you're trying to rate these two teams, you got to look at the full season to some extent. And outside of those 2 games, Duke's season has been a little bit more impressive, certainly on a per possession basis. Carolina has the loss to Georgia Tech. They have the loss to Syracuse, and Duke obviously has a loss to Georgia Tech as well, but that was 3 months ago. So Duke's been, I think trending in the right direction, obviously, except for the Carolina games. It will be interesting to see if we do get a third matchup in the ACC tournament, but I do think Duke is probably maybe perception-wise just a little bit undervalued because people just can't grasp the fact that they could get swept by Carolina. They could be, the 2 seed of the tournament, and yet they're basically a co-favorite to win the thing.
Yeah, and Ken's analytics, again, the distilled down to per possession. I mean, it's myriad statistics, but that's really the base of it, per possession. I'm always fascinated about teams like, let's use Kentucky, who you have 17, and then somebody like an Alabama, who I believe you have 11. Do you have fun looking at those teams and trying to rank them?
Yeah, Alabama's been a wild ride this year. I mean, they're just so volatile. Their offense is one of the best in the country. I have it ranked 2nd right now. They play at a fast pace, so when things are cooking, they're going to score over 100. But their defense is ranked 102. So when things aren't cooking, the other team's going to score 100, and we've seen that kind of go back and forth. I mean, when they're on their game, they're really good, but they're a hard one to really pick to like run through a tournament. I mean, Nate Oates hasn't had a lot of success going deep in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, a disappointing year last year, and it's the same kind of scenario this year. Like, can you really trust them to win 3 or 4 games in a row against high quality competition? It's an odd position to take because Nate Oates is kind of famously pro analytics. I believe a math teacher background. He will trumpet that every chance he gets. They do not shoot mid-range, which is great on one sense. But, when you get into the tournament and you're facing sophisticated defenses who are going to take away the three-point shot and take away the rim, you're going to have to make a few mid-range to sustain your offense. And Alabama's utterly incapable of that. So the type of team that can really steamroll weaker defenses, but when they face a high-quality defense in March, it really becomes more of an issue just because he has this, notion of, just basically never shooting mid-range and really never practicing it. And I think it does kind of come back to bite them and when it comes to March.
I'm going to finish by putting you on the spot. Give me a team that your analytics love that maybe doesn't get the attention nationally.
Well, let's see. I mean, yeah, that's a hard one because the teams like that this year are kind of brand names to some extent. I mean, Michigan State comes to mind as a team that, continues to lose close games, but still is holding pretty steady in my ratings. They're 19th right now, and they've basically been on the edge of the top 20 throughout the Big Ten season. I mean, it's just remarkable how stable their ratings have been, and yet, they're 10-10 in league. So it's not a team that, is necessarily hot by any means. You watch them play, and it seems like every possession is a struggle. But that said, the per possession numbers, again, pretty solid. They are competitive in every game. They really don't, they're never going to get run off the floor. When they win, they tend to win comfortably. So, that's the makeup of a team that would be undervalued. I'd feel better about them if they, just had some sort of star factor in their lineup, but, they really don't. I mean, Tyson Walker and A.J. Hoggard are a tremendous backcourt, a really high usage backcourt, but not super efficient, just have never made that leap, neither of their careers. And, it's hard to see that's the type of player that's going to carry them to, 2 or 3 victories in March. So Michigan State's a confounding team. That's certainly the team that I think of. It's definitely there's a huge difference between my ratings and kind of maybe what public perception is.
On behalf of all the bettors, the committee, and every basketball program, I thank you for your work. Ken Pomeroy, KenPom.com. Thanks, Ken. Appreciate the time.
All right. Thanks, Patrick.